the evolution of receivers for our radio-controlled airplanes. What we're using nowadays is 2.4 gigahertz. So the antennas on the receivers were about 3 foot 3 inches, and the antennas on your transmitter were like that. And then they broke, and people taped them, and all kinds of stuff. The receivers in our RC airplanes got antennas about this long. Some have two about this long, some don't. All different shapes and sizes. And there's also some antenna-less receivers out there. Prior to the 2.4 gigahertz, they had receivers that had antennas about that long. How long is that, you say? Well, let's see. Let's get the measuring device out. And there's roughly a foot right there. Hey YouTube, it's Sean, Griffin RC Planes. So, hope everybody's doing good. It's January 26th-ish, the weekend right around there. I hope some of you guys are getting to go out and fly, that the weather is good enough for you. Here in Middle Tennessee, this entire week, it never got above freezing. Until today, it warmed up to about 50. And maybe tomorrow, the temperature is going to be about the same, and I can get out and go get a few battery packs in. But hopefully you guys are. So, our receivers that we put in our airplanes. So we have our transmitter and our receiver, and they work on 2.4 gigahertz. That's the frequency. And when you bind your transmitter to your receiver, that's a process where your transmitter and your receiver are coming up with a frequency that only the two of them know. And then there's another side of that, how they hop back and forth between a couple different frequencies that only the two of those know. And anyways, the antennas on the receivers are about this long. Some of them have two antennas. This one has two, but sometimes they're this long, sometimes they're that long. And then there's also antenna-less receivers. Well, I'm going through this big box of Traxxas stuff I got, and boxes and boxes and boxes, and like literally 1,000 pounds of Traxxas stuff. And I came across a receiver for the frequencies and how they used to do it before the 2.4 gigahertz, you know, where the transmitter had an antenna that telescoped out, and then the receiver had like a 3-foot antenna on it. And the way those two talked together, or talked to one another, was you had to have a crystal that had a frequency, you know, assigned to that crystal, and you put it in your transmitter, and then you had the matching crystal that you put into the receiver. So maybe you're at your flying field and you see a board that has a bunch of different numbers on it, and it's probably metal, where people could put, you know, magnets and saying, hey, I'm using channel 4, or I'm on frequency this, or whatever. You know, there's only a limited amount of frequencies. Hey, let me just show you this stuff, because this is old vintage stuff right here. Hang tight. So here is a 6-channel receiver, 72 megahertz. That is the most common type of receiver prior to the 2.4 gigahertz, was 72 megahertz. FM, you know, very similar to FM radio, you know, but your FM radio starts at like, you know, 80. So just below it is 72. And then there's different variations of the 72, you know, 72.1 or 72.6, you know, what have you. But the crystal plugged in here, and it looked about like so. What we're using nowadays is 2.4 gigahertz, and the antennas are about this long. Some have two this length, some are like this with a short one and a long one. And you set them up in your plane in kind of a cross direction, so that way you can have both different directions of a signal going out. They also have antenna-less receivers, just like almost every single cell phone does not have an antenna anymore. Same concept. Prior to the 2.4 gigahertz was the 72 megahertz. There were other different types of megahertz. But we're going to talk about this one. 72 megahertz was the most common, with different channels of the 72. You know, 72.1, 72.2, and so on and so forth. And the antenna is about 3 foot long. Let's measure this guy. I've got a ruler out, and we'll just see how long we got here. So let's see if we can get yep, got 12 inches, about right there roughly, and we got another 12 inches roughly right there, and over 12 inches. So there's about 3 foot 2 inches was how long the antenna was for your receiver in your airplane back in the day. Then your transmitter had a similar antenna, one that pulled up. Let's see if they're about the same length. So we've got our receiver and we have our antenna that is broken. That happened a lot when you got something about 5 feet dangling out. They're roughly about the same length. Interesting. So this little oval slot right here takes a crystal. Let me show you some crystals. Maybe you've been to your RC airplane flying field and you've seen a board with a bunch of different numbers on it. And that is because prior to the 2.4 gigahertz, people were using transmitters similar to the setup we're talking about, and there's only a handful of frequencies, so you don't want somebody to be on the same frequency as you. Here is a matching pair of crystals. This happens to be an AM band. This one here is 72 megahertz FM. So the FM, you know, your car stereo starts at like 80. Below that, 72, kind of similar, close. So you would have a matching set of crystals. One goes in the transmitter, one goes into the receiver. Let's see if we can find a match here. Let's see. We know this is a match. I bet these guys right here are a match. Let's see if we can make out what this one says. So this matching set right here is 27 megahertz. 27. Nope, that only helped me, not you. So this is 27.199 megahertz. And then there's a match, which is right here. So that person would have channel 5 marked in the 27 megahertz category. So he would probably put something on that board. That board was probably metal. People had magnets with their names or whatever to identify. I never flew like that, but you can see there's a picture of the car and a transmitter here. So this is for cars, obviously. Some of the crystals will have receivers. So this one has RX on it. So then we'd be looking for the match of a TX. This is not the match, but there's a TX. AM. And right here we got can't read it. That's the one we got. Another AM, channel 14, 27 megahertz, channel 14. Look at this. It says StarMax. And there's our StarMax receiver. So let's see if we can get the old StarMax to plug in. Is this the receiver one? Yes, RX for receiver. One of these little holders probably goes with it. Somewhere, maybe. You can see it's got 2 little holes in there. See that little where the crystal plugs in, just like so. and then you would have your transmitter, and you would plug the other one into your transmitter. Here's a transmitter for a car, but it also takes crystals, and you can see that has one plugged in right there. Same concept. So this is 27.195 megahertz. I wonder if the match is over here. I would guess that this one is probably the match, because we pulled it out of the receiver. We pulled it out of the transmitter, which has TX on it right there. And then the green right here says RX. So that's how crystals used to work. Okay, well, hey, before I throw that up on eBay for maybe $1, I don't know, 50 cents, we'll see. I just wanted to show it to you before I listed it on my eBay. Yeah, that's where I was going to put it. Hey, anyways, like, share, subscribe, and like it some more times, and subscribe 2 more times. And hey, make sure you're still subscribed. I get messages every day saying, Sean, you kicked me out. And no, I don't know what it is, some kind of glitch, or maybe you have in your settings that, if you don't watch somebody for a few weeks, you automatically delete. Or I don't know what it is, but it happens all the time, and it happens to me too. I'll be looking for somebody's video, or I'll just be thinking, haven't seen nothing from them in a week or two, and come to find out, I'm unsubscribed. So make sure that you're still subscribed. At 20,000, 3 jet giveaway. We can do 3 E-flies, we can do 3 FMSs, we can do 3, just whatever you want to do. We can do some free wings, that's what I was trying to think of. We can do a mix, we can do whatever, but we'll do 3 of them. So, at 20,000. All right, guys, hey, thank you. Until next time. All right, yeah, hey, we'll see you there. Right there. Adios.